Urgent Dirty Birds. Fan, look at what just happened. Nobody saw this coming, huh? But first, make sure to subscribe to the channel because we bring you daily videos with the latest Dirty Birds news, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. Atlanta's recent resigning continues concerning off-season trend. The Atlanta Falcons resigned veteran corner Kevin King late last week as the franchise continues to add secondary depth. King's comeback is an impressive one when you consider the veteran's struggles at the end of his tenure in Green Bay. Taking so long off from the sport and being able to make an NFL roster and do enough to lock up a return is impressive. While the corner doesn't project as a starting option, King did make a handful of impactful plays during the 2024 season with Atlanta. Despite this, Atlanta fans have become disillusioned with the team's handling of the position. Yes, the pass rush was unquestionably a big part of why the Atlanta defense fell apart at the end of the season. This still doesn't excuse what fans watched from the failing secondary, one that the Falcons are slowly rebuilding by bringing back the exact same pieces from a season ago. Atlanta's lack of moves combined with continuity in the secondary is a reason for concern. The Falcons first brought back veteran Mike Hughes before resigning D. Alford. Alford, Hughes, and A.J. Terrell would likely be the team's starting options if the season started today. It is a frustrating decision to bring back a group that simply didn't get the job done in the 2024 season. Why Atlanta would want to return this same group without any notable additions is a mystery. There are still a handful of options in free agency, or the Falcons could opt to add to the position in this year's NFL draft. No matter which path they choose, it is alarmingly clear that the team must make improvements if they're serious about taking a step forward in the 2025 season. Running it back with the same collection of veterans is going to result in more frustrating moments and veteran quarterbacks continuing to cook a struggling secondary. A.J. Terrell and Jesse Bates need more help, and thus far, Atlanta's offseason moves are returning the same failing answers from a season ago. Pausing this news just to say that if you want YouTube to keep recommending the latest Dirty Birds news to you, it's very important that you leave a like on this video. Thanks. Now let's get back to the news. Carson Wentz, how serious are the Falcons about Kirk Cousins as their backup quarterback? It looks like, well, find out the answer to that question after Cleveland's latest signing. The only other options seem to be if Minnesota or Pittsburgh reconsider their current options. The Steelers would clearly prefer to sign Aaron Rodgers, while the Vikings would trade Sam Darnold for a no-healthy J.J. McCarthy. The Falcons have to decide whether they want the distraction of Cousins hovering behind Penix for the 2025 season. The silver lining remains that Kirk Cousins becomes a trade target when a prospect loses their starting quarterback. If the veteran doesn't reconsider moving on from his contract, there's simply no incentive for Atlanta to release the veteran other than to avoid the distraction. If the franchise does cave and release Kirk Cousins, the best remaining option on the market is Carson Wentz. The veteran quarterback has played at a high level at various points in his career and is their best chance to win out among the current backup options. Falcons add 2 impact players in ESPN's 3-round mock from Kuiper Yates, Mel Kiper Jr., and Field Yates alternate picks on ESPN's latest mock draft and filled 2 critical needs for the Atlanta Falcons. The starting 11 for the Atlanta Falcons offense looks set heading into the 2025 season. Of course, there will always be surprises, usually the bad kind in the form of injury, but with Ryan Neuzil set to take over for Drew Dalman at center, the Falcons return virtually their entire offense intact. It's the other side of the ball that has been neglected in the NFL draft that should get a boost on April 24th when the Falcons are on the clock at number 15. With only 3 picks before the 7th round, trading back a few spots and picking up yet an extra day 2 pick would be ideal, but there will be plenty of options at number 15 to find an immediate impact player. Mel Kiper Jr. and Field Yates released a 3-round mock draft on ESPN in which they are alternating picks. With pick number 15 and number 46, each of them gets to make a selection for the Falcons. They didn't pull any surprises and hit on 2 of Atlanta's biggest needs. Yates took edge rusher Mike Green out of Marshall for the Falcons. The Falcons registered the 2nd fewest sacks in the league last season, 31, so edge rusher is still a problem even after signing Leonard Floyd, wrote Fields on ESPN. Green is explosive, powerful, and pro-ready, and he should be able to get pressure on opponent QBs right away. He led the FBS with 17 sacks last season. The Falcons sent a large contingent of staff to Marshall for Green's pro day, and they had to come away impressed. Green clocked a 6 85-second three-cone and a 4 25-second time in the 20-yard shuttle. His three-cone time would have been the best among all defensive linemen and linebackers at the Combine, while his 20-yard shuttle would have ranked second at both positions. The next edge rusher doesn't go off the board until Shamar Stewart lands with the Packers at number 23. However, several other intriguing prospects, including cornerback Jahdae Barron, 16 out of Texas, defensive tackle Walter Nolan, 17 from Ole Miss, safeties Nick Emenwari, 19 from South Carolina, and Malachi Starks, 27 out of Georgia, are all still on the board when Yates selected. Georgia's Michael Williams wasn't taken until Kiper selected him as a bookend to Aiden Hutchinson for the Detroit Lions at number 28. Tennessee's James Pierce Jr. falls to the second round before being taken by the 49ers at number 43. If the Falcons are in love with a player at number 15 like Green, they need to stay put and select him. However, there are going to be half a dozen players still available that could plug right into the Falcons' defense on week 1. It's Kiper's turn when the Falcons are on the clock at number 46, and he chooses cornerback Benjamin Morrison from Notre Dame. Morrison is coming off a hip injury, but he has really good press coverage traits and picked off 9 passes in 3 seasons, wrote Kiper. The Falcons could slot him opposite A.J. Terrell. Atlanta has resigned virtually their entire cornerback room in the offseason, including Mike Hughes, Dee Alford, and Kevin King, but none of those players inspire enough confidence to write their name on the roster in Sharpie like the Falcons did last season. A cornerback opposite Terrell is still a glaring need for this team. One of the more intriguing prospects still on the board when the Falcons pick in the second round is defensive tackle Darius Alexander from Toledo. Defensive tackle rounds out the top 3 needs, along with edge and cornerback for the Falcons defense. Alexander was a standout at the Senior Bowl and had a very impressive NFL Combine. The Falcons sent their third-round pick to the Patriots for Matt Judon last summer. The Patriots take guard Wyatt Milam from West Virginia with the Falcons pick at number 77. After 4 consecutive years of taking an offensive skill player in the top 10 under general manager Terry Fontenot, 2025 looks like the year the defense finally gets some love. Dolphins star DB Jalen Ramsey on the trade block. Will the Falcons be interested? The Raheem Morris connection makes it natural to wonder, but there are real hurdles to a deal. The Miami Dolphins are looking to move Jalen Ramsey, one of the great cornerbacks of his era. Every NFL team will have some degree of interest in Ramsey, even if it's just a hey. He'd be a nice addition to the roster before moving on, and the Atlanta Falcons are no exception. In fact, the Falcons are in need of secondary upgrades and have a strong connection to Ramsey through Raheem Morris, who was Ramsey's defensive coordinator for years when the duo was with the Los Angeles Rams. NFL Network's Steve Wyche brought up both the obvious mutual appreciation between Morris and Ramsey. The defensive back lit up Morris critics with a fiery, swear-heavy 5-minute speech back in 2022, for example, and the fact that both coach and player have talked about moving Ramsey to safety in the twilight years of his career. The Falcons notably have some serious question marks at the position, with former Ram Jordan Fuller and recovering from major injury DeMarco Hellams as their only real options next to the great Jesse Bates. So Wyche's thoughts here hold some weight, even if a positional shift for Ramsey would be no small undertaking. Of course, it's not like they're loaded at corner, where Ramsey was still excellent in 2024 and has spent his career dominating. So a trade with an eye on having Ramsey as a clear upgrade at either spot makes plenty of sense from a pure talent and fit perspective. Acquiring Ramsey to start opposite A.J. Terrell while kicking Mike Hughes inside and relegating Clark Phillips, Dee Alford, and Natrone Brooks to depth role would give the Falcons a very good group. So that raises an obvious question. Would the Falcons consider a trade for Ramsey? The short answer is yes, but the obstacles to getting that kind of deal done are legion. The Dolphins will likely want draft capital, and the Falcons are quite limited in that regard for 2025. Perhaps they can swing a deal for 2026 picks, but they'd still have to absorb nearly 7 in a 2025 cap hit, with a $25 million hit for 2026 on the way, and no good way to escape the deal until 2027. The team also would need to make a determination on whether they'd prefer to keep him at corner, where his cap hit is high but not outlandish, or explore that shift to safety, where it would be less palatable. For a team that's been fighting through a cap-strapped moment, adding Ramsey might be prohibitively costly from a contract and compensation standpoint. All that may well keep the Falcons from seriously exploring a trade, but I'm not going to entirely rule it out. Morris loves Ramsey, Ramsey loves playing for Morris, and this team both needs major upgrades on defense and wants to win right now. If they can spin a 2026 Day 2 pick for an excellent, fairly durable defensive back who would give them the makings of a dominant secondary, the temptation will likely be there for this team. They don't have an easy path to acquiring a talent of that caliber up front, after all. It's worth keeping an eye on these rumors as we approach the draft. Ultimately, I imagine the Falcons will hold on to their draft capital and shy away from a trade for Ramsey, but the pressure to win right now, Morris' esteem for Ramsey and Ramsey's obvious appreciation for Morris, means we can't rule out the possibility entirely. And now, Dirty Birds fan, I want to hear from you. What's your opinion on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I don't know if you know this, but your opinion matters a lot for Dirty Birds. I'll be back any moment with more Dirty Birds news. ATL, rise up!